Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So you guys have heard me talk about my this war that I have internally dealing with politics, at least in leftist politics. There's this part of me of let it burn. Let it burn. Let it all burn. I'm sick of people functioning in this way and being robots. Let it burn. When it gets bad enough, when it hurts enough, then maybe we can have a different society. People can grow the fuck up. Let it burn. Whether you want to call that a revolution, whether you want to call that society going into dark ages. Perspective. Depends on who you are. But the other part of me is, what if you can take practical steps, one at a time, to try to reform something that's already there? It's not as glorious as a revolution. It's not as emancipatory as a checkmate. It's hard work over a period of time trying to take something over and take something back. Some edifice that's there, that's worn, but can be used to suit your ends. In California, Kimberly Ellis ran for the DNC. Yeah, ran for the California chair, Democratic chair. I keep saying DNC, but it's not DNC. It's the California chair. She said she was cheated. She said she was cheated. Now, instead of just kind of standing by like Sanders and pretending as if the cheating didn't exist, to pretend as if the election fraud didn't exist, to pretend that the fact that people sent him all those millions of dollars, that millions of dollars went up in smoke because he didn't want to say anything about the fraud and the cheating. Kimberly Ellis did. Let's hear. I hope this comes through okay. Come on, Kim.
There's something very wrong.
This election has been stolen.
We felt strongly that something was amiss. Having had the opportunity,
she said we felt strongly something was amiss.
The ballot, we are very confident.
Having the opportunity to view the ballot, we're very confident.
Computers. What we have seen so far,
which includes duplicate votes,
people who were not qualified, to be proxy, which includes disparate forms of signatures, which includes people who did not.
She said, which informed disparate forms of signatures.
Sign in.
People who didn't sign in at various points throughout the process.
There are numerous
irregularities and inconsistencies which fall far beyond the margin of error. Now, this is the Ellis interview on the Working Life podcast. What's wild about this is she's being matter of fact. She says, look, when we look at this, we're seeing really bad irregularities, and we're seeing people who weren't qualified. She even being proxies. We're seeing duplicate ballots. This looks like cheating to us. This looks like textbook definition of cheating. We're calling attention to the fact that I've been cheated. How hard is that? How hard is that? Now, you can say that Sanders being cheated on that level it took him being cheated on that level for her to do that. That may be true. That doesn't make it better, man. I'm sorry, that doesn't make it better. That doesn't make my feelings for Sanders all that joyous. You were their avatar. What was at stake? And yes, I'm going on the side for a moment. But what was at stake? I mean, ultimately, you have a drowning man in the pool. Sanders decided to take the call and be a lifeguard. Fair enough, you're a lifeguard. You're lifeguard Sanders. Lifeguard Sanders, gets up there and he goes from state to state to state. He is an Iron Man. He is a rock star. People love him. And not just people love him. They consider him an honest man. A decent man. and somebody who wanted to actually fundamentally change how we arrange ourselves in this country and as people. Meaning, you as a person have worth, and the society itself is going to try to affirm that worth in helping you have the things that you need to live a decent life. The resources of this country will be spent for the people of this country. Period. Now, however you want to dictate into that a philosophical or political reality per se, or into politics, into legislature, have at it. But it's predicated on a fundamentally different basis of governance. That's what people believed in. Whether Sanders could articulate that in legislation or not was way besides the point. What do you believe in? And he tells you every time he gets up there and gives a speech, he gives the same long-winded speech that tells you exactly what he believes in. He actually believes in it. For 40 years, he was marginalized, the socialist, the guy who was standing up for gay rights when gay rights was not necessarily a cool thing. That was him. That was him. That honest man was cheated. And the honest man understood what was taking place, but didn't want to say anything because he didn't want to get the label of being a spoiled loser. What was at stake? There's a drowning man in the pool. Are you concerned about them telling you that? Your nipples look a little funny. Your nipples look a little funny. I need to save this drowning man in the pool, but I don't want to take my shirt off. Come on, man. Come on. What was at stake overwhelmed any of that stuff. This is the point I'm getting at. And I understand that being in Sanders' position, he is in a different position. If I was in that position, they say you see everything from the side of the board. If I am in that particular position, I would hope that what drives me to get up every day, to go from state to state to state and give that exact same speech would also drive me to realize that the reason I'm giving that speech is because people are suffering. They're hurting. They don't need to be that way. We have the resources to do all the things that we need to do. Those resources are frittered away, given to corporate interests, sent out the country, but going towards things that is not representative of the needs of this particular country. I'm making the point that the resources of the country should be used for the people of the country. That's simple. If you understand as a socialist that people are hurting, that people are having difficult lives, unnecessarily difficult lives, not because they did anything bad per se, but just by being born in a country that for the most part was a capitalistic society. People were getting what they wanted to get, even at the expense of others. The model compels the behavior. You can understand those people are in straits. Half of the country is in poverty. Come on, socialists. Come on, what are you going to do? Are you really going to be ashamed that they're going to call you bad names when the thing that you really need to do and the thing that you stated that you wanted to do was to help the people that you're talking about in those speeches? But your nipples look funny when you took your shirt off. So you didn't want to take your shirt off to rescue the drowning man in the pool. That's the point I'm making to you. Any level of saying that, oh my God, he's been a sore loser, is dwarfed by what's required of you, what's called of you by providence. Beyond being called of you by providence, from a legal standpoint, you're talking about a democracy being undermined by cheating. I don't care if they call you a sore loser. They're cheating. They're undermining our democracy. That's the point I'm getting at. It angers me that he didn't say anything about the cheating. It bugs the shit out of me that he didn't say anything about the cheating. Because ultimately, in one state after the next, there were irregularities. It looked weird. It just looked strange. Nevada, by itself, should have been a hell of a huge issue. Not because Nevada had all those delegates, but for the fact that Nevada existed in the first place. What took place in Nevada should have never taken place. Not in a democratic society. You can go from state to state to state. And I would argue that if you look at those ballots, you can say the same for each of those states. That's my point. Yes, you call out the cheating, not because you're a sore loser, but because you're doing it because of what you represent. Hope for a generation that's in poverty, that's in dire straits, and that for the most part, want to live a better life. If those are the things that you've represented, then yes, you take those lashes. Let's keep going.
Result, we have called for an independent third-party forensic audit to validate.
They're calling for a third-party audit to validate the vote.
And verify this vote so that we can
So she's making the point that, look, man, this looks weird. There are irregularities all throughout it. We want a third-party vote.
Truth. We believe deeply that not only did we not.
She says she feels deeply that not only did they, I would imagine she said, not lose.
Not lose that 62 votes, but that we.
All right, in a nutshell, she wants to call for an independent body to review the vote. She believes that, no, we didn't lose by 62 votes. We believe we won this contest. And there are enough irregularities, weirdness, oddities, and things that just shouldn't happen in a primary to indicate that, yes, we should get that third-party review. I agree with her. But you got to be, but from my standpoint, I'm somewhat biased on this. I think all votes should be audited. If you're having a democracy, you have a democracy. You need to make sure that the vote is secure. How do you make sure the vote is secure? By having an audit of that particular vote. And you don't use electric machines. You use hand ballots where people can count, people can read, people can review. That's how you secure a vote. Not some digital space. No. I want a physical matter reality. I want a ballot. I want something where I can hold and weigh in my hand and I can circle or whatever. I want somebody who's reading it and counting it. Hell, put it through a machine and let the machine count it. I'm just making a point that I want something that can be reviewed. I'm not taking anybody's word for it. This is the vote. We're talking about our democracy. We're talking about our country. Yes, it's a republic, I know. But I'm just making this point that when we go out and vote and put somebody in that office, I want to know that the person who's in that office won. That's what I want to know. Not that somebody is messing around with the results. Even the appearance of impropriety is a problem. Meaning, even if it looks shaky, it's a problem. I'm making a point that our electoral system in this country is beyond shaky. It's beyond shaky. And you have people on both sides of the political spectrum that disbelieves it, that doubts it. It's not just lefties. People on the right also look at the voting system and call it a sham. Now, mind you, they're thinking of it as sham in different ways, but I'm making the point that if you secure the voting system, you can get rid of a lot of this thing of people not trusting the vote. And in this particular case, it did look like they cheated. Have the independent body to review it. Determine the truth of the matter. But I would make the case that that should be done in every state. Every state, every vote should be done in that way. You should be able to count those votes twice. Those votes should come out, meaning that person should be in that office after a review of the first count. Not a dummy review, not I'm matching this to make sure it matches the machine, but no, an actual vote. I'm making a point that we need to secure our electoral system. Russia doesn't matter if we had a secure electoral system. I don't even own up to the whole thing that Russia hacked us, per se. But I'm just making this point that if they care so much about our elections, there are things that you can do to secure our elections. First, give rid of party control over elections. I don't care what your party is. You should have no control whatsoever over elections. The elections should be done by an independent body, period. The parties themselves should only be able to run in those elections. They should have no control over the apparatus. Are you telling me that you trust the vote where you have a Democrat in office as governor, a Democrat, maybe a Congress, Republican, a Green, and another Democrat who's running, and the Democrats own the mechanisms? Are you telling me you trust that process? Even if the process goes spittingly well, meaning they do what they're supposed to do, certainly you realize there's doubt in that process. You have somebody who's massively weighed for one particular side. Will that particular side push things a little bit to get who they want in that office? Yes. I don't see why they wouldn't do that. I'm sorry. They have an interest, a political interest in doing that. Get rid of the political interest. That's a defect in our system. Have those things done by independent bodies. Have those things reviewed by independent bodies. And have those things done by paper ballot. There's your fix to the electoral system. Period. That's everything you need to know to fix your system. Now, getting into the human element of it, that's essentially what she's talking about. This was a sham vote. They were able to do this in a sham process because we have a fucked up voting system. She wants an independent review. She should get her independent review. And I'm going to reach out to her because I want to talk to her. I don't know if I have the clout for that, but can't hurt to try. Can't hurt to try. All right, guys. If you enjoyed the content, feel free to share, subscribe. You can always support the work through Patreon. Thanks.